First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Maya Rockeymoore Cummings is the widow of Elijah Cummings. And the topic here is that the center strikes back. Is it possible the political center is making a bit of a comeback, at least for now?
Please, God.
Maya Cummings Rockeymoore, thank you so much for coming on. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
So tell me, is it possible that the somewhere in the middle of far left and far right, there is a center that is in control?
Yeah. Well, really, politics in America is a function of demography and geography, and certainly level of government matters, too. But, after 4 years of Donald Trump, I think the American people are holding tight to experience. They're also holding tight to and very concerned about extremism on either side. And so, certainly, the center has some credibility as long as, they conform to, I think, a certain level of expectation in terms of focusing on governance and not necessarily hyper-partisanship. That being said, the situation in the U.S. Congress right now that we see in the Senate particularly with Joe Manchin actually holding the center tight is one, I think, is a function of demography and geography. West Virginia went for Donald Trump by 25 points in the last election. And yet, in his last Senate election, Joe Manchin barely actually won his seat. And so he is walking a political tightrope in his state, and you see those politics being carried out in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kirsten Sinema. She is from Arizona, a very borderline state right now, which is actually trending Democrat. So, what's interesting is to see how this is playing out on the national stage in a way that's actually stymieing the Democratic quote-unquote majority in the Senate. Mm-hmm.
It is interesting to see the power that Joe Manchin has right now, right? I mean, he's being entertained by Republicans and Democrats, and he's really holding the line, which is something he said he was going to do when he was running for re-election.
Yeah, no, it is absolute power. But, the question is power in the service of what? The Democrats are trying to get a bill passed that would basically put election reform in place across the country. They're trying to get big money out of politics. They're trying to get rid of partisan gerrymandering in terms of drawing district lines. They're trying to send more resources down to the states to make sure that there's integrity in our voting systems and we have the right equipment. And they're also trying to make sure that certainly that voter suppression does not happen across the country. And so, you've got Joe Manchin, who is a putative Democrat, who's standing in the way of that agenda. The argument can be made that, this will have generational, effects.
Yeah.
That being said, we can't forget that, any other Democrat, like, for example, on infrastructure, which Joe Manchin may very well get behind, can be stymied by a Bernie Sanders if he feels like if the provisions in the bill are not up to snuff.
Well, we're seeing that.
There's a 50-50 Senate, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so anybody can, basically serve as the fly in the ointment.
The history would show us that the midterms the Democrats will not bode well during the midterms. Do you feel that we're in a normal time period right now?
I don't, because this is why. Nobody knows what is going to happen with all of these lawsuits against Donald Trump and all of these investigations against Donald Trump. The Republican Party has cozied up to Mr. Trump in such a way that there is no daylight between the Republican Party and Donald Trump. And as a result, I think that what could happen in the midterm elections really is a function of, Mr. Trump's fortunes.
Yeah.
That being said, the typical pattern historically has been that, the party that wins the presidency loses seats in Congress in the midterm. And so I know that Democrats are very concerned that they have very little time left.
I want to ask you what your late husband would say, looking at Joe Biden as president, everything that is going on in the country right now. how would he look upon this? And it's not been that long, but we've come a long way since 2019 when your husband passed away.
So, first of all, in his book, We're Better Than This, My Fight for the Future of Our Democracy, he actually predicted that he was very concerned about any kind of future for Donald Trump in politics. He was concerned that if Trump won a second term in office, that his basically his propensity to undermine democratic processes, to actually basically turn his back on the U.S. Constitution and his and to be anti-democratic would basically accelerate, and that we would pay for it as a country in major ways. He never anticipated that Donald Trump would show those tendencies even before he, left office with regards to the January 6th debacle. And so he would have been screaming at the top of his lungs and begging U.S. senators to actually impeach and convict Donald Trump, when they had the chance back in January. And that being said, now we're seeing, just this alarming trend of, Republicans trying to basically use, I say, PSYOPs campaign against their own Republican Party by using disinformation, misinformation, and conspiracy theories to basically claim that the last election was fraudulent. That would have concerned Elijah to no end, because the second we have people in office who are aiding and abetting a conspiracy to say that American democracy, can't be trusted, that means that people are going to have doubts, and we're already undercutting our democracy and of it for our children. So Elijah would have been deeply concerned about this trend in American politics right now, and he would have been everywhere talking about the need to uphold the integrity of our system, for people to tell the truth, and for us to move forward hand in hand and to focus on governing for the people.
My last question would be, from your opinion, what do you say to? And obviously, this interview has been set up through Fox News. You're on a station that carried the legendary Rush Limbaugh, an area that voted tremendously for Donald Trump in the last presidential election. What do you say to those Republicans who are afraid that the liberal agenda is what is threatening America? How do you bring the country together? What do you say to those people?
I say that we're all human beings. We need to quit operating through the lens of, hyper-partisanship, and certainly through the scare tactics that have often been used, I think, by political parties to put people in their corners and have them swinging to stay there. It's time for us to, find common ground. It's time for us to focus on the fact that, we are, all human beings. We need to protect our basic rights as citizens, and we need to focus on so that our kids can live, all of our kids can have that is fair, that is just, and certainly that upholds our national values. That being said, I would also say that it is important that we recognize reality, that it's time to step out of our hyper-partisan bubbles and get facts, not operating on rumor, but on facts. And we know that the last election was lost fair and square by Donald Trump. And anybody who says anything to the contrary is trying to play head games with you. And so, I just encourage your listeners to really focus on what's really at stake here, and that is the United States of America and the democracy, which we should all cherish and value, because it means that all of us have a voice in our government, and that's what we want for our children, too.
Maya Cummings, Rockeymoore, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, have a great day.
Swimsuit? Check. Sunscreen? Check. Phone charger? Check. Don't forget to pack the 5-Hour Energy. It fits great in a pocket or carry-on, and the alert feeling will help you arrive ready for anything. Now get 20% off when you use code 5HETRAVEL at 5hourenergy.com. Expires April 30th. One-time use only. Not valid with other discounts. Remember, visit 5hourenergy.com and use code 5HETRAVEL to save 20%.